career is not an accident.
Better than us, depending on where you're from and what you've been through.
What's up? This is Troy Carter, and you're watching The God Show.
I'm a facilitator of dreams. I am not here to take you to your dream.
Dim joints and focus.
Focus and dim joints.
What?
Yo, this is Big U. I just finished The God Show.
What up? This Red Push, man. You're not tuned in with The God Show. Just
Poking the bell.
Oh, that is
Hold on.
raised.
That's my favorite term. He's the master investor. Ian Dunlap, let's go.
the roller coaster go up and it come down. A lot of them ain't prepared for it to go down.
What y'all need to do is tune into The God Show tonight.
What show?
I'm a believer in God, and I believe that if God know your heart is in the right place, He will always protect you. And only person know our heart is us and God. So if God know your heart is in the right place, that situation might not worked out with you, but He was watching. And He was like, damn, T kind of dope. Let me go. Yeah. So you can't work with the intent on getting back. Yeah. Like, I have a theory on life. I'm like just rambling. I'm probably in
keep going.
I have a theory on life that I think you know how they would say the 3% of the wealth is with 3% of the world, and the other 97%. I think the other 97% are up and down. They takers and givers whenever it's convenient. And I think the other 3% are all they either all givers or they all takers. Right? So I'll give you an example of two successful people that one was a taker and one is a giver. Barack Obama, he's a giver. Right? We know what he is. 100%. He's at every time he walks in the room, he's trying to figure out how can I help, right? Yep. And then you got Donald Trump. That motherfucker a taker. Right. They both successful in their own right, but they both know who they are, and I don't give a fuck what the scenario is, they not changing. Facts. And what I decided was, I'm gonna be a giver. I need to hear that. No matter what. And don't get me wrong, sometimes being a giver hurts because people are gonna take and they might not give back. Yeah. But when I told myself I'm a giver, I knew I was like, bruh, that's not on you no more. Yeah. You've committed to being a giver. You committed to being a giver. So if they come take, if they come rob, if they come steal, it don't matter to me. Because in my mind, it's like, well, shit, I've lost $1,500 for you to never come around me again. Right. I'm cool with that, but I'm cool with giving. And the more you give, the more people want to come give to you, because it's one last lesson, then I want to get back to this. It's a lesson that I learned, and I learned it from Polo to Don. Polo. Love Polo. And Polo was at a tough place at this time, right? Polo was at a place where everybody was kind of like stay away from him. Mm-hmm. But we just so happened to be in the same studio renting from the same person, so we was like together every day. Yeah. And I was hanging with Polo, and this is why you a genius, and this is why I know what I'm doing works. I will watch Polo walk in rooms and tell people what they should do. Mm. So he would see Tiana Taylor and be like, yo, T, you killing it right now, but you need to do 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And then he'll see you and be like, you need to do 1, 2, and 3. You need to do 1, 2, and 3. And then every time he said that, guess what they said? Help me. Mm-hmm. So everybody else is sitting there saying, I'll help you if you give me a check. I'll help you if you give me a bag. Help first. And then that's why what you're doing is dope. You're talking about, you're not charging. You're like, here. Yeah. Well, guess what that means everybody want to do? I want to be in a room with that motherfucker right there. Because he's gonna give it to me if there's nothing in it for him. Yeah. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a giver for the rest of my life. So anytime I run into people, I'm like, yo, you should do 1, 2, 3. And they was like, dope. Right. And next thing you know, they're like, help me. I'm like, oh, that wasn't why I said it. I just really thought you should do good intention. I was doing God's work. Yeah. And that's how I look at it. But back to you. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the biggest issues we have is, like, we don't think there's enough money on the table, right? We think if I get rich, that person can't get rich, and I got to keep the secret. Yeah. So what is a big misconception that, in general, not just the Black community, that people just have about money?
Like you said, there's a limited amount of it. I don't know if people have been watching the last 2 years. They've been printing money like crazy. And that, like you said, if you win, it takes away from me. My thing is, like, if you're dope, and let's say you go to Sony, you go to Interscope, I go to Def Jam, he goes to, and we come together. Yeah, I think it's more money that way. More money in touring. Like, shout out to my guy Trap. Like, a lot of the people that I shout out, we don't have any business arrangement with. Yeah, just solid people. Like, I'll shout them out, then he'll shout me out. Yeah. Just even in, like, having family and team, I'm like, you should have your people around you and you want to see people win, because there's an abundance of money. But I think the industry makes us compete against each other. Yeah. So I've never seen in any other industry a label or an artist go against. I've never seen like Brad Pitt versus Bradley Cooper, and they got into it on La Cienega. It's just stupid. But my thing from a business standpoint is like, let's say there's 40 artists that die a year. I always ask, who gets insurance money and where do the masters go?
I keep asking that too.
So if it's part of the monetization policy, I think it's pretty interesting to see like an artist die and then their family will struggle. And they pit us against each other because they don't want us to win. And that's something we have to stop doing, to stop competing across the board and do more together. Like, that's an endless amount of money. That's why I hate when they tell artists like that you guys don't know. When you make every brand on earth hot.
Yeah.
Like Apple built the entire ecosystem off of artists and
cool.
Hey, use this and you can put your Pro Tools on it and do your ads, and all of a sudden one of the biggest companies in the world 20 years later.
Yeah.
And Spotify, and like Spotify built a subscription model off of podcasting. Shout out to Button, you know. That's my dog. Shout out to Corey, shout out to Ian. Didn't want to pay him what he wanted and had to spend 1.5 to get other podcasts on the platform. It didn't work. If me and you blew $1.5 billion in a year at a tech company, what would happen? We'd be fucking blackballed and in jail.
They walking us out.
Nothing happened to Daniel. Not that I want them to go to jail.
Of course.
Right.
But it's like, how do you burn through $1.5 billion on shows that didn't work and the business model didn't work? But they'll tell you you don't have the capability to go to SoundCloud and help them grow 14x. That's bullshit. So if more of us come together, there's more money.
I agree. I ain't gonna lie. I think, so somebody told me this, and I said this earlier, that they make us feel like if you're a black person at the table, then you're not like them. Like, oh, you're here, but you're not like them. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
And they make us feel
You're
like
here to be the black
it's
person
not
at the
enough of us. Can I tell you when I realized I had power? When I knew that, and I'm gonna say this because it's a room full of us black people. When I knew that every table needed a nigga.
Why?
Because we are
They
the
need us.
coolest motherfuckers. Who sells anything better than us?
But why don't we come together and sell that cool against a brand or...
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But then when I realized that, like, I would be sitting down with people like my company always was called Radar, but my new company now is called LYI. LYI stands for Leverage Your Influence.
I love that.
And I would be talking to people. Like, I was talking to I have a theory. I'm glad
Go ahead,
see, I
show
could
it.
talk money with you. I like this. So I was telling people, I was like, what do you think is worth more, BET or the Shade Room? Of course, everybody knows it's BET. So I was like, how much would you pay for BET? How much you pay for BET? How much would you pay?
For BET, a billion.
It was sold for $1.5 billion in 1999, so I'm assuming it's probably worth about $3.5, $4 billion. How much you paid for the Shade Room?
That's a fucking good question.
If you had to just throw a number, how much would you pay?
Just for influence?
No, the Shade Room as a media company, how much would you pay for it?
How many followers they have?
Like
million?
28
Way more
million.
than a million.
Yeah, about 28 million on Instagram.
Probably about the same, depending on the product that I'm pushing.
Gonna leverage
or the
against it.
demographic. Yeah.
Most people, well, as far as I know, the Shade Room is valued about 75, 80 million.
What?
Yeah.
So the Shade Room has 27 million followers on IG.
Yo, let's go
BET
raise some
only
money, buy that
has,
shit.
But
BET only has 2 million followers.
But here's the thing, though.
fucking good
But
question.
here's the thing, though. But if I ask you another question, if you had to cut a deal with one, put you on every day, who would
I'm
you
going
want?
Shade Room.
Of
Right.
course.
Ain't no
Shade
So
Room.
why are they not worth more than BET? You know why? Because
Because they got the infrastructure.
We not exactly.
Yeah.
So
BT
my
has the
thing. So when I
infrastructure.
talk to people, I'm like, dog, I'm actually negative on this podcast. I've made $1.
I can help you change that, though.
I want to talk to you, but I love that.
Now you talking our language.
I received that. but here's my thought process. My thought process was I'm negative on it, but I was like, I'm going to put my energy into it because I had to be my first client. So I'm like, my company's called Leverage Your Influence. I'm gonna be the first client to leverage your influence.
Have
'Cause
to.
let me show you how to
this
take
works.
how to take a small music business following and build it
Yeah.
and drill it down.
Yeah.
Because my thought process is if there's 100,000 songs being uploaded on Spotify every fucking day, then there's 100,000 people out there every day that need some fucking information on music.